Hello, welcome to the Multi-Ethnic Homeschool Moms Conference with the amazing Michelle Huddleston. My name is Karla Marie Williams, and I am excited about being here with you. I am an author, a speaker, and a global child advocate, among lots of other hats that I wear. I am going to be talking to you today about interest-led learning for the special needs family. Before I get started, I kind of want to give you an idea of the special needs that we are challenged with in our home and how we overcome them. So in our home, we have Asperger's, we have ADHD, ADD, PTSD, SPD, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and dyslexia. These are just words to us. One thing that we are quite positive of is that every single one of our children are a gift. And we know that they are going to do great things to impact the world around them. And so I want to share with you a little bit of our homeschool journey and how we have kind of flipped the script, so to speak, on how we present learning to our children and how we believe that this can be a blessing to you as well. In 2009, we actually brought home our oldest child because we felt that she needed something different, and we felt it was an emergency, that we needed to do something now. And so we brought her home and began to homeschool her, very traditional, very militant style homeschooling, and it worked for a little while. We began to then homeschool her, the next two children that came along, as well as maybe 7 years later, we began to homeschool 3 more children that we adopted. As the children added to the family, we noticed that things were becoming really hectic. And I knew that if I stayed on the road that I was on, I would be in a straitjacket in the corner. So I had to do something different. And I had been reading a lot about unschooling. I had studied a lot about it, watched videos, read blogs and things of that nature. I thought a lot of these people were out of their mind, honestly speaking, and you may have thought the same thing in the past yourself. But when we brought our youngest 3 children home, I noted what we did not want to do was to bring them into our family and just start shoving information down their throat, right? So we decided we need to take a break. We stopped all homeschooling, we stopped everything, and we just wanted to mesh as a family of 8, which was already hard enough without trying to homeschool right away. And oh my gosh, it was an amazing revelation for us when we began to see our children teaching themselves and teaching each other things that we never initiated. And I began to see things come to light and to life, so to speak, as I began to dig and study and research a little bit more about interest-led learning and how it works. And so I want to share with you how the last 7 years have been for us. This is our 11th year of homeschooling, but the last 7 years of those years have been unschooling, and I cannot imagine doing anything else. And some people call it unschooling, some call it interest-led learning, whatever you call it, it has changed our life and changed the game as far as learning in our household. Now, one thing I think that we would agree on is that when you have a challenge or a learning difference, it can affect your self-esteem. It can affect how you feel about yourself. It can affect the goals that you make for yourself. It can affect really how you present yourself to the world or what you're even willing to try out of fear. And so when we began to see those things in our children as a result of the challenges that they faced, we wanted to make sure that we turned that story around, that we changed the narrative around what their challenges were and the importance that they had and the importance that they didn't have. So as a result of that, as parents, we just want to make sure that just because our kid has a challenge, that their goals are not limited, that their dreams are not limited, that what they can accomplish are not limited based on those things. And so we're going to talk about today briefly what you can do to change that narrative in your household and surrounding your children's learning differences so that you can better direct and facilitate a learning experience that allows them to thrive. I have seen my kids thrive. I have seen their confidence boosts. I have seen them do and accomplish things that they didn't even know that they could accomplish. So I'm going to share that information with you today. How do we do that? Number one, we recognize that we don't want our children to identify themselves with their challenge. We don't want our children, number two, to identify their dreams and capabilities with their challenge. And so what has to happen is that our focus has to be different. So what do we focus on then? We focus on highlighting their natural gifts and talents, their interests, their passions, the things that they're really great at, and we highlight those and give them an opportunity to become masters in those areas. We allow them to become highlighted and I guess you can say praised and esteemed for those particular areas so that that raises their level of self-esteem. So what happens when your self-esteem is raised? When challenges come, you feel like you have the power to defeat them, right? And so one of the things that happened in our household, and I'll give you a few examples with a few of my kids. I have 6 children. I'll give you a few examples later, but when you highlight those passions, the confidence level begins to help your children achieve the things or push past those barriers that are getting in the way, such as attention deficits, such as, being on the autism spectrum, or such as dyslexia or things of that nature. Yes, the challenge is very real. And as a parent, it is hard to watch your child struggle. But let me tell you what's even harder: to see their self-esteem low and to see them not look at themselves the way that you do, as the amazing person that they really are, right? That's a challenge. I'm not saying that the challenges aren't real. What I'm saying is they don't need to be the focus in your family. So we highlight those. There is no interest. There is no passion. None of the things, none of their talents should be minimized. All of them are worth exploring and mastering. So how do we accomplish this dual road with our children? How do we help them through these challenges into becoming who they desire to be, who they're created to be? Well, as we master those natural gifts and talents, as they begin to hone in on what it is that they do well, as we begin to give them chances and opportunities to exercise those things, not just in the home, but, maybe on stage or in other ways, they begin to gain the confidence that they need. And as a result of that, they can accomplish. They recognize that they can accomplish the things that they desire to accomplish because they've already been able to see themselves in a different light. Now, that dual road that I want to talk about, you have a child that is going down this road where they are mastering something that they're good at. They have found an interest that sparks fires. They have found something that they do really, really, really well. And everybody's thing is going to be different. And then they have this challenge over here. That dual road is something that can be very empowering because while they are mastering this over here, they are building their confidence and learning how to deal with and manage this challenge over here. And the worst thing that we can do as parents is focus all our effort and all our time on this road, where all of our homeschooling hours and everything that we're trying to do is working on dyslexia, or is working on ADHD, or is working on all these things where they are never able to branch out and follow this road. So it's a dual road that we want to focus on: mastery and mastering challenges, both at the same time. But what should take precedence? Mastery. Mastery of the things that they do well. I'm going to give you some examples of that, of a few of my children, because I think that examples always help people see what you're talking about, or how to, I guess you can say, apply certain knowledge. I have one of my children, my daughter, who was, since we brought her home, my oldest daughter, when we brought her home, she was very, almost afraid of numbers, afraid of math. And because I had those same challenges growing up, I did not have a learning difference, but I hated math. And I think that was the way that it was taught. But I saw that in my daughter, and so I feared. She sensed that fear, and we were traditionally homeschooling, and it was always a fight. We were fighting, and my entire focus was on getting her to love math and do math well. And when we began unschooling, I decided I need to stop it because it's destroying our relationship and it's destroying her. I didn't want that. And I knew for a fact that she was going to do something great. She was a dynamic personality, and I did not want to crush her spirit by forcing her to do something that was so painful. At the same time, I did know that there were things that she needed to do just, when it came to math, just for life. I get that. I understand that. The challenge is very real, and the challenge does need to be addressed. But I knew the way that I was addressing it was not helping. So we stopped everything. And what we did was, on a whim, I signed her up for a college course. She was 11 years old at the time, and this was a college poetry course, and she got a 98%. And then she began writing stories, and she began to do things that, reading voraciously and just writing all of these amazing stories. One day she brought me a notebook, and she said, "Mom, I wrote a book." And my first inkling was to say, "Oh, that's cute." But I decided to read the book, and I said, "Whoa." And I showed it to her father, and I said, "This is a book. What we can do with this is we can publish a book. We can show her entire learning experience can be through writing and editing and marketing and public speaking and learning how to run her own business and sell her own products." I said, this could be a holistic learning experience for her. By the time she was 16, she published her 4th book. I said all that to say, I could have stayed on the road and forced and fought and her whole homeschooling experience would have been focused on the pain and the fear of math. Instead, we flipped the script and decided, what is she good at? Let's maximize that. Let's make that the focus. And then everything else comes under that, under the radar. We made sure, she's 17 years old now. We made sure that she had consumer math and she understood basic math. We also understand that the goals and the dreams that she has, she's not going to need calculus. That's not what her path requires. But we did discover what her path requires, and we are so happy that we did. And that is how interest-led learning was able to benefit her as a student with dyscalculia. I have other children that have dysgraphia, and I had to come to the conclusion as a writer myself, and as 2 of my daughters that are also writers, that was not their main skill. That was not their main talent. And I had to be okay with that. Sometimes as parents, we want our kids to be able to master what we've mastered when they are not us. And we have to be okay with that and allow them to be who they are, pursue the dreams and the goals and the interests that they have as an individual. And so my 2 sons are off the charts brilliant. And of course, anyone would say that, but I really mean it. They are amazing kids. And my oldest son, who has always struggled with writing, and it's kind of a mild dysgraphia where his mind moves too fast for his hands. And he's really has a struggle writing down his thoughts. But if you were to ask him to present his brilliance in a verbal way, if you were to ask him to show you how to do something, he is an amazing teacher, an amazing orator. And we began to see that he had other skills. And we began to also see that he was really strong in math and science. And so the opposite of his sister, we had to make sure that those things were highlighted, that those interests were brought to the forefront for him to be able to build up his self-esteem and master something that he loved. So as a result of that, we began to expose him to aviation. And around the age of 12, we found a program that would teach him how to fly planes. I know, right? It sounds crazy. And it was the perfect fit for him. He had always shown I guess you could say he had always shown a interest in aviation, in planes, in space, anything like that. And so we knew that this was going to be a game changer for him. Joined the program. He's now 16 years old, and within a year he will be a licensed private pilot. He will also be a avionics professional. He is in an avionics program at our local airport. And so we had to flip that script. If we were to focus on writing and all of our efforts and our pain and our tears were focused on teaching him how to be a great writer, we would have missed where his real skills and talents and even his dreams were. So I encourage you as parents, please listen to your children. Listen to them. Pay attention to those gifts, those dreams, and the things that they talk about. Make sure that we are not highlighting the struggles that they're having, and instead that you're highlighting the things that they do well and giving them plenty of opportunities to be able to exercise those things, master those things, be mentored in the area of those things so that they can build their confidence, and that confidence will allow them to annihilate that struggle that they're dealing with as a dual road. So I wanted to make sure that I wanted to review quickly of what we talked about, that learning differences bring down the self-esteem. They cause us to have fear and doubt ourselves and our abilities. Highlighting what we're good at brings our self-esteem to unlimited heights. And it also allows us to master things and see what we're made of. That dual road allows both mastery and correction and learning in the areas that we're struggling. The outcome of this in our household has been absolutely amazing. Every single one of my children have dealt with challenges in some area or another. And we don't ignore the challenges. We just don't highlight them. The outcome has been that they have all learned to master things that they love. And it has caused them all to walk in a level of confidence and a level of pride in themselves and their abilities. They dream more. They don't feel limited in the things that they can do with their life. And that makes all the difference. That makes us as parents absolutely excited to see them glow, to see all those fires ignited from the things that they pursue, and to be able to see them exercise those gifts and those talents. It always, always brings joy to us. And so I wanted to make sure that you understood why we chose interest-led learning. Simply because it allows our children to be their best selves and to put their best foot forward and to master the things that they love. I wanted to give you an opportunity to connect with me online. You can reach me at www.karlamariewilliams.com. That is Karla mariewilliams.com. You can also connect with me on social media at Karla and the Sensational Six, and that is on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. You can access all of our family's interest-led learning journey. You can ask questions. You can be a part of those groups. You can also access all of my books and materials that I have available for interest-led learning families, as well as other things that I offer. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that this was a blessing to you. And I know that as you begin to pull out those amazing gifts and talents in your children, you'll begin to see who they really are, and they will blossom like never before. Thank you.